are here now in the conference room, or behind the conference room in the Whale Museum in Husavik. Today there is no whale watching possible, but I'm sitting here with Michael Tetley from the UK, and yeah, he has a very interesting information for us, and he is telling us why he is here in Husavik.
Well, my name is Michael Tetley, and I'm a PhD student at the University of Wales in Bangor. And I came here around about 3 years ago with my studies on minke whales, mainly, to try and develop an idea of utilising whale watching boats as a platform of opportunity to be able to collect data. And in that time, we've been able to, with the whale watching boats here in Husavik, to get an idea of, in terms of photo identification, which animals have been seen in the bay, in terms of individuals, how often they've been here, and an element of their site fidelity, but then also to gain an appreciation of which areas of the bay are important with respect to foraging or the way in which productivity and food may be concentrated in different areas of the bay, but then also being able to monitor their activity and their behaviour, such as the length of time they may dive, which has given us a good perspective of how they may utilise the bay in terms of foraging and in terms of utilising that prey. So, and it's been very interesting in those 3 years, and that's given me an opportunity to collect data for my own PhD studies, where I have comparisons with other whale watching and other organisations in Scotland, in Canada and in Japan. But then also with respect to my developing student projects for students from my university, and also trying to develop student projects for students here in Iceland, and being able to develop studies on different types of habitats, different kinds of photo identification, and also these dive time rates as well. So really, with respect to that, it's been a very, very interesting area for developing whale watching and developing research associated with whale watching as a platform of opportunity, and really developing potential and opportunities for students to come into Iceland, to see Iceland and be able to utilise some of that information, but also from Iceland as well. So I think that's mainly what I've been up to for the past few years. So I don't know if you need anything else from me with respect to any kind of other information.
Yeah, maybe just about whale watching, the growing of whale watching, or the effect of whaling on whale watching. I don't know which one you prefer to answer.
Well, of course, whale watching is of course in the long term a very sustainable industry, but it's very important to be able to have good management practices with respect to whale watching as well. My kind of experience coming from the UK and Scotland was we had a massive growth in whale watching industry, but unfortunately when it first started, the management practices weren't really high at that time. So we had problems with respect to the movement of animals outside of dolphin and whale watching zones, which led to more legislation and more activities for monitoring of those areas as well. So I think at the beginning of these kind of operations, when you're developing in these industries, you really have to make sure that the management associated with that is fairly good, and also that the companies themselves have a part in being able to manage their own industry by collecting data themselves as well. So I think that answers your first question, I think. With respect to whaling, of course, whaling and whale watching, the relationship there in terms of management is a very strange one. But I think in terms of whaling will obviously have an effect on whale watching companies due to the fact that many people from outside countries who might want to come here to go whale watching actually might not do that, because they think that they don't want to come to a country where people are whaling to essentially watch whales as well, from a kind of ethical or moral opinion from those countries' perspectives. And of course also with respect to whaling, is it going to be a situation whereby for the whale watching and the whaling companies, where exactly are these activities going to take place? And I know that in terms of Iceland, they were trying to develop, in terms of in the information I knew of, areas which were designated only for whale watching, and whaling wouldn't take place. But I think in the past few years when they've been trying to do that, I think whaling has been taking place within designated whale watching zones, from what I appreciate or understand. So I think in terms of being able to get a better perception of defining areas which are important for whales with respect to whale watching is very important with respect to future research on whales in Iceland. So I think that answers your second question as well. If that's okay.
Thank you.
That's all right, thank you.
Yep.
Dankeschön.